everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts, Samantha and myself, Allison and Will. And today we're going to talk to you about law of attraction, if we can get through the giggles. We are constantly giggling.
We are.
It's a wonder we get anything done.
We love it.
Mm-hmm. But it's good energy, right?
It is great energy.
Law of attraction is an interesting one because everybody knows about it.
Do they?
Everybody's heard of it, I should say.
Everyone's participating in it, whether they like to or not.
Oh, so this is not a voluntary thing. It's an involuntary thing.
It is a universal law.
Okay.
They say.
They say.
Who's they?
I don't know.
There's the law of balance.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
The law of attraction. And there's another one that's a big one. I don't remember it though at the moment.
I have no idea.
Okay. Everybody's at least heard of it.
Yes.
Everybody thinks they know what it is for the most part. But I think it's a little more complicated than.
So is there a right or wrong to law of attraction?
No, it's a hard nut to crack because it's kind of like even when you're doing it, you're screwing yourself up as you go along. Like if you got it all right all the time, then you have no business being here.
Right.
Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue is that we call it attraction, law of attraction. So I think most people think, at least I did, that it was about bringing good things into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is in part, but that's not all it's about.
So what do you think it's about? She's going somewhere with this, folks.
I know.
I am, but I want to, I'm going to save that nugget for later.
She's fishing. She's fishing.
Save that nugget for later.
So,
he's going to bite.
No, I'm just saying, so you're, is it about things that I want? Yeah, of course. I mean, we all want certain things. I mean, I remember when immediately on this journey, I had no idea what law of attraction was or any of that stuff. And you were listening to Abraham Hicks.
It was interesting. I discovered Abraham Hicks was one of the first.
Right. That's how you got
spiritual teacher.
Abraham Hicks is a gateway drug.
Yes.
Right.
And it's Esther and her not ex-husband, her deceased husband, Jerry Hicks, started channeling.
Yeah.
Basically. And he was the one asking all the questions. He has since passed and she's still doing it. And they call it the energy Abraham Hicks, but Abraham is the energy that she's channeling.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hicks is her last name.
Yep.
But it was really addicting, but it was like nails on a chalkboard for her voice. You didn't like her voice.
God, you'd turn it on and I'd be like, what? It would
but there was something about it.
It would make my eyes go cross-eyed.
No, it hooked me.
It couldn't. But from that, you always talked about law of attraction or manifesting and all this stuff. And I don't know if those two fall in the same category or not, but I'm going to put them there.
Yeah, I think
for my point of reference, because when we first started
on the mechanism of how you manifest.
Okay, well, there you go. So when we all started on this journey back in whatever 18, 17, 16, somewhere on there, in one of the little jobs that I had in the civilian world, we'll call it the civilian world. You're like, well, you can just attract it to you. You can, or you can manifest it in your life. Like, okay, if I'm going to manifest it, I'm going to tell myself every single day for the next year that I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a wealthy millionaire because the guy I'm working for is a millionaire. And so he apparently can do it. So can I.
Okay.
I'm not a millionaire. So yet.
Therein lies one of the struggles with
the conundrum
understanding law of attraction.
Yeah.
Now, Esther and Jerry Hicks were not the first. I think it came out with, what's her name? Burns, The Secret. Do you remember?
Oh, no.
It was before that.
No, they were. That reminds me of that cat video on TikTok. No. Anyway, sorry. Actually, no. Abraham Hicks, Jerry and Esther came out with this.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They did not participate in The Secret.
That's right.
Even though The Secret has done wonderful things and has, there was
what do you mean by
parting
secret?
of
What do
the
you mean by
There's
secret?
a movie. There's a book. First it was a book and then a movie.
Yeah, called The Secret.
By Rhonda Byrne or something like that.
Yeah, and she was and she had a lot of people participating in this concept, explaining about it and so forth. But the people who brought it to her attention did not participate because of the direction she was going with
I
it.
got you.
Yes.
And the
Kinda
people that brought
corrupting
it, the people that brought it to her were not Jerry and Esther, but they were invited to be a part and they declined, right? Is that how that worked?
Well, my understanding is that her awareness came as a part of the information from Esther
Jerry,
and
okay.
Jerry Hicks.
Okay,
And
yeah.
if I have that correct, if I don't, you can comment on it, but
I do
that I
remember
remember
that story now. Yeah.
that there was a, because I was surprised. I was like, why, if this is the secret and they're talking about law of attraction, why aren't these guys a part of it? And then I came across the information.
That's right.
So you can look it up yourself.
Cool.
So it's probably been passed down through the ages, but it came into sort of our national awareness, I think, in the 80s when all of this stuff was coming, when New Age started to really pick up.
No, there's actually Neil, I think I'm saying this name right. Neil Goddard, Goddard, Goddard. I think it's Neil. It might be a different first name. Niles
Or
Goddard.
Nile, yeah.
But he's the one that really, and that was back in the 40s or something.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that really started expounding upon this concept of our how we create our reality. And like you look back at some of his stuff and it just gives you goosebumps because you're like, oh, okay. And I'm sure there are people who understood all this even before them, but he brought it to mainstream.
But I mean,
Right.
okay, so then, and see, this is going to be an education class for me because I don't understand all this stuff. I don't read and I don't listen to this stuff because I try to keep myself clean for my channeling purposes. So then creating your own universe versus law of attraction versus manifesting, because to me, that all seems all separate pieces.
You're not creating your own universe.
What's that?
You're not creating
said-
your own universe.
Well, you said creating your own universe. Or creating
your reality.
Your own reality.
Oh,
So,
yes.
excuse me, reality.
Yeah.
So creating your own reality, law of attraction and
Mhm.
manifesting. So creating your own reality, that I can understand. That seems, I'm not going to say easy, but that seems somewhat intuitive.
But we are all doing that.
Sure.
Even if we're on autopilot.
Mhm.
Right. So, but then law of attraction would state that you are, and this is being pulled out of thin air. But law of attraction would then state that you are going to manifest those things in your life that you, I hate to use the word want.
That's the
But
assumption.
Right. That's where everybody's going to go with it is you want to
Mhm.
manifest those things in your life. So you're going to create this paradigm, reality point
Mhm.
to create those in. So now that's your new reality point, your new paradigm. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's right. Go ahead.
Well,
That's the idea.
I don't, okay.
That's what people think.
So
is the
where
idea.
I start with people on it is the first accepting the concept that we're all creator beings.
Yes. Understand.
So the moment that you recognize you are a creator being, you can no longer buy the BS that you're a victim. You are not a victim if you are creating your reality. If before you came into this lifetime, you chose the experiences you ideally wanted to have, and then once you come here, doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that this is the way it's going to play out. You have wiggle room. You have, self.
The pieces are in place to have it
There's
happen.
free will and others have free will
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they intersect.
So, but from that moment, now you're in the game and you can you're actually creating and co-creating with
Mhm.
all of these other individuals.
Okay.
And so when you have your woes, you can say, well, you're still a creator being because you have brought this by your choices and what you intended when you first came in here to experience all of this. So when you're sitting there saying, well, I am, I'm not a millionaire yet. Well, had you become a millionaire, you would not be on the path you're on.
Sure. Exactly.
And then we can get super philosophical about it, and pick it apart.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
leads to the next step, which is it doesn't matter how much you try to manifest whatever it is, if it's not in your contract
Well, that's what I
or
was just
on
gonna-
your path,
Right. That's what
then
I
you're
was just
not
going
going
to
to
say is
manifest it.
if I didn't,
But
if I-
you are manifesting regardless all
You're
the time.
manifesting what's on your path. You might not be $1 million. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
So if I created, and that's what I was
just
going to
because
ask
you-
is
right.
okay, where does my life plan, contract, birth plan, whatever you want to call that, it goes by many different names. So if my life plan or my contract states that, during this lifetime, the particular lifetime I'm living right now, that I chose not to put a check mark in that box that says a millionaire, right?
Mhm.
So I could sit here all day long and spin my wheels in the dirt, wanting to be a millionaire or manifesting a millionaire,
Or holding your vibration
or
high
holding my
enough.
vibration high enough to draw that into my reality, that I'm going to be a millionaire, and yet it doesn't happen. So I'm going to go through my life with this futile exercise of trying to become a millionaire.
It's not futile.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying, for those that aren't aware, and say someone this is going everywhere. Good God, hold on a second. Buckle up, people. We're running with this one.
Okay.
So,
He has nothing to say about
no,
this.
I had nothing to say about it, but my God, my brain just
Wow.
exploded inside my head right now. So, all right, we'll take Joe Schmo. That's just an iron worker in Pittsburgh, right? He came into this world to be an iron worker, but yet, well, this can go a couple different ways.
Now he wants to be a famous celebrity. How about that?
No. So he wrote in his contract that he's going to be a millionaire, right?
Okay.
We're going to keep the I'm just going to stay with
Everybody wants the money.
of a
Okay,
millionaire.
you're going to say that's in his contract.
That's in his
Okay.
contract. But he doesn't know that you can create that in your reality. So at what point, if we're creator beings and this aspect of law of attraction, at what point do those merge to bring that into his reality? That's
Right.
that's one example. Now my other example is going to be the other half of that. So stay with me here.
We're trying.
Yeah, I know. It's difficult for me to track this down. All right, you have another person who has a fairly exciting life. Not a he or she's not an entertainer, nothing else. Just has a good life. And along that journey, they come across this person called Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks, and starts to read and get all introduced to all this stuff. And now, but doesn't believe in any of the woo-woo, doesn't believe in any of that stuff. And now they're like, I'm going to create $1 million for my life. For me, I'm going to be a millionaire. Unbeknownst to them, they already put that in their contract, and lo and behold, they become a millionaire. And now you've got everybody looking at these people going, well, they manifested it. Why can't I manifest it? So you've got Joe Schmo that becomes a millionaire just because he put in his contract. He doesn't know anything about his life. He doesn't.
Well, first of all, you don't have to be consciously aware of this mechanism working in your life,
Okay.
because it is a given.
Okay.
It is a given.
It's like you're breathing. You
Okay.
don't sit there and think about your breathing.
Okay. No, I don't. Well, sometimes I do.
Yeah. Well.
So in both of those cases, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't have to be conscious of it. But I want you
But
to
it helps.
continue where we
Sorry.
kind of
Sorry, I'm
hijack
sorry I
your-
took this train off the rails, but yeah.
Well, yeah, your mind's just like you're ready to dive into it. And
Yeah.
well, so once you accept the fact that you're a creator being and you're creating your reality, then you have a choice of, okay, to a certain extent. Well, no, you always have choice. There's
Mhm.
always,
Sure.
I think this is the part where people go sideways with this, because we're always looking for the $1 million. Okay. But
Yes.
there are plenty of millionaires out there that are miserable,
Oh, absolutely.
that are empty, that they thought, oh, when I have this, I'll have arrived. And then they realize, nope, once I have this, I will have arrived. Okay.
Yep.
So the classic thing that I try to teach people is it's not the having of the thing that matters. It's the feeling that is derived from the having of the thing that matters. So if you can shortcut it and just focus on the feeling, which is what Abraham Hicks is teaching you,
Okay.
is just to go for what does it feel like? Because then you don't even need the thing.
Well, then that was going to be my next.
And that's what the
comment.
gurus know.
Okay. So,
Like when you talk about the Buddhists, and they're just the enlightened ones.
so if it is for myself,
Mhm.
go back to myself. If it's that aspect of being a millionaire, wanting to be a millionaire, I don't necessarily need the $1 million, because that's going to change a whole nother point in my
Right.
reality, right? It's going to change a whole nother point in my reality. But if I can find what that feels like in my life,
Yes.
what it feels like
Right.
to be a millionaire, and
But,
how to
but focus
operate.
on why would you want the million? Because it would give me a sense of freedom,
Right.
joy,
It almost
happiness.
always comes down to freedom in the
Yes.
end.
Right.
Okay. So, but that's a very Western concept
Sure,
about the
yes.
$1 million. Let's go to, because this has been my most recent experience, having gone to a third world country, going to Uganda,
Mhm.
being out in the countryside. So let's look at a Ugandan living out in the countryside.
Okay.
Money does them no good.
Right.
They're not sitting there wishing for money.
That's right.
They're looking for water.
Mhm.
They're looking for access to clothing. They are looking for much simpler concepts. So it's no longer are they going, okay, because when you talk about this thing, money, which money is a vehicle, it's a
Mhm.
tool,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
a concept, it's a way to barter, but it is not the actual thing that is the desire. It's all the
That's
things that
needed.
it gives you that
Mhm.
you're actually wanting. Whereas they're going, okay, they need water to survive.
Mhm.
That's a whole different
Yeah.
concept there.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
I don't even
No,
know where I can go with that one, because it's
no,
like
that makes absolute sense.
we always, in the Western world, we always focus on the money. And like, okay, so I mentioned in our recent discussion about how I got my ass kicked by the collective because I had asked one too many times about abundance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I got to spend all of last summer up through like November with no money coming in. None. I mean, well, no, that's not true. I would have this. This is so sick. I would have enough money come in to pay the very next bill on its due date, and not anything more, just that
Yeah.
bill, and then the next bill, and so I was literally living not paycheck to paycheck, bill to bill,
Yeah.
and just like I kept going, I'm going to default. I'm going to default. And the
Bing.
thing is, I had food on my table. I had a roof over my head. It's hot in the summertime in South Carolina. I had air conditioning because the environment that I was living in was abundantly providing all that,
Mhm.
meaning my husband, thank God. But that was my environment. That was
Sure.
where I was living.
Yeah.
So those needs were being met.
Right.
I just didn't have the money coming in. And that really got me to, like, it was really harsh at first.
It is.
And then I started laughing like psychotically. That's called a breakdown. And then I moved into a space
Classical
of,
terms.
yeah,
right?
like, isn't this ironic that this is like
It's a master class on trust.
yeah. And yes. And the moment that I finally got it, I knew I'd finally gotten it, because then all of a sudden I became so flush with money that I was giggling. I didn't know what to do. I was like, this can't be real. I don't even understand.
It's like the moment at that moment, the universe goes, yep, she's got it.
That's right.
Yep.
Open it up.
Open up the floodgates.
Yeah.
So, it's,
Right.
but what I was towards the last couple of months of that experience, we're talking like months and months.
Mhm.
It gave me the opportunity to really move into the space of gratitude
Mhm.
and understanding these concepts. And from there, it quiets all the noise, so that then you can focus on, well, what does it feel like? What is it I feel like? What is it that money's giving me? Well, it's giving me the roof over my head. Okay. No, emotionally, what's it giving me? Security.
Mhm.
Okay. So I was tapping into what it feels like to have security.
Mhm.
So it's really, it's again, go back to, it's not the thing, it's the emotion that you derive
Mhm.
from the thing. That's all we really want.
And-
This was such a good example. So thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable,
Yeah.
because
It sucked.
We've
Yeah.
been through that. We've not, I won't say maybe not to quite that same extent, but all repeated. I mean, even from
over the course of 30 years, we've been there for sure.
Yeah,
But that
but-
was
but-
before.
what I'm
People
saying-
watching this event.
But that was
but-
before we understood all
But
of
what I'm
this.
saying, even in the church, right? When we were down in Texas in the church, I was coming up at a decision point in my career in the Coast Guard. Do I step out and go into the reserve without any job opportunity or anything? Or do I continue on and be displaced from my family for however long, because I'm going to have to go out to sea for however long,
Jeez.
So I said, okay, I'm going to go into the reserve. And at that point,
No idea how we were going
had
to
no
feed
idea how that was going
our
to,
family of four.
I mean, take all that, decent salary already 10 years in, all that. and now nothing. And it was a week or two before my departure date, maybe it was a month, I don't know. A
Mhm.
gentleman in the church came to me and he said, look, I know you know tech stuff, because I would handle all the tech stuff at church. He goes, I have a company that handles all of the chemicals for all the wastewater and water treatment plants around the lower Rio Grande Valley. They always want me to work on their electronic equipment in these places. Do you know how to do that? I said, no, but I'm sure I can learn. He said, well, I'll give you my entire client base for doing the tech stuff while I continue to do the chemical feed stuff.
Gave him a job, gave him the,
Boom.
the
I
company,
mean,
basically.
literally. And I thought, well, how much am I going to have to invest in this?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I need all the tools and everything else. Well, there was a sign-on bonus to go into the reserves, because the reserves were very lacking at that point. And it was like $3,000 just to join the
Mhm.
reserve or go switch from active duty into the reserve.
Wow.
It cost me $2,500 to buy the equipment I needed. You know, I mean, it could have played out any better. And
Right.
then over time, we got to those points where, oh my God, we got a bunch of bills coming in, and out of nowhere, there'd be a refund check for something in the mailbox. There'd be all this.
Right.
I
And
mean,
that's what Bashar says that abundance is. Everybody knows Bashar.
Yeah.
If you don't, look him up. But he says abundance is having what you need when you need it, which is exactly what you talked about. When you need it,
Yeah.
not a storehouse of
Mhm.
extra necessarily, and not necessarily in the form of money.
I have a saying, and I adopted this one. I think it was, I realized this in my 20s. And I said, I'm never given the money without which the bill to spend it on.
Right.
In other
Right,
words,
right.
like if money suddenly came to me, it's not like I was meant to take a trip.
mhm.
Like that, whatever my car would go
Yes.
wrong,
Just-
something would, and you could say that is law of attraction with me putting it out there, that then I've had to examine that real
Yeah.
closely, but it's really, hey, here, we're providing for you because something's about to
Yes.
come
we
up.
Yes,
we
yes.
just had that. You had your AC heating system
Okay.
take an issue, right?
Yep.
Ours too. It just wouldn't. It was not going through some cycle or whatever. So there was problems. So we called a company out that we trust, and it was like, I don't know, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500.
But we
Mhm.
had enough in savings
But
to
we
pull
had
from
right.
that.
We had enough in savings to pull, and
And he's
handle it.
lamenting, like, but I don't want to spend my
Right. I
savings."
don't
Well,
want to
that's what
spend that
it's
money on
for.
it. But then I
Right, we were
literally,
given-
as I was walking up to the treehouse to get ready for a session, or get the equipment set up for a session, it overtook me like, look, dum-dum,
Yeah.
you got it. You have it for a reason, and not to hold
And I
on
will-
to it to frivolously spend it, but you have it to take care of the needs of your family. I'm like, okay. I
And
get
what
it.
you were
I'm
mentioning
convicted.
about the church, I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up again, because
Mhm.
we didn't know anything about any of this. We were in the church,
Yeah.
but we were tithing, and we understood about giving
Mhm.
and receiving, which is basically what this law is really all about.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
God church does teach that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well-
I mean, and I have a little bit of issue with church, obviously, from the way I said that.
Right.
But the tithing aspect, whatever they do with the money, that's a whole other
That's
thing.
Yeah.
But it's the selflessly giving,
Yes.
no
And
attachment.
not giving because we wanted something back, but
Mhm.
just knowing that this was what we were called to do, and we were always provided for and taken care of.
I mean, we've around the Christmas time or
Mhm.
even other times of the year, we'll just get a burp or butt, or we've done this in the past where, we'll
You
we'll
get a
go
what?
a burr up our butt.
You never heard of that?
I
A
thought
spur
I
in,
thought he said a burper butt.
no.
And I'm going,
no, sorry.
Okay, a
I'm
burp
sorry I
up
mumbled,
your
but
butt.
yeah.
It's kind of
burp
a
up your butt.
weird phrase. I
Yeah.
guess.
It's a very
spur in
weird-
my
Especially
saddle.
for
How
our
about-
European friends that probably
Yeah.
don't know what this is.
Hitch-
Spur in my saddle.
Hitch my get along.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, my giddy up. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode. But like go into Starbucks or
Mhm.
somewhere and purchase like a $50 gift card and give it to the barista and say, look, use that to pay for the next 5 or 6 or 7 people, however many you can pay on that
This
gift
is
card.
not the
No, but it's but
point of,
when you do that, when you
patting
do
ourselves on the
that,
back here.
that is showing energetically that you understand how to utilize what you've been given,
Mhm.
and then
Right.
it comes back in a different way.
Well, okay, so then another concept because we've talked about how be grateful for what you have,
Yeah.
and the meaning of abundance and everything, but The other important thing to remember in operating with law of attraction, I work with this stuff a lot, these concepts and shifting people's perspective around it and stuff. And the other aspect of it is that your higher self knows what the plan is, knows what's in place, knows the whole 360.
Yep.
And, you know, so a couple of critical components of that is your natural state of being is that of happiness, joy, being in that higher vibrational state. And when you are in that state of being, that is when you are most connected to your higher self. That's when you are receiving those impulses and that flow and that so forth, where you start getting the nudges, turn left here, go right there, do this, do that. And then when you are in that space and you're listening to your higher self, then it is, you are co-creating with your higher self. You're now moving into the steps where the universe has laid out this. It's again, it's not the getting to the thing, it's the journey of getting to the thing. So all of a sudden you get to have this real fun adventure of synchronicities that leads you to a fascinating encounter. So, you know, it's all about, I mean, I remember, I think it was Bashar who talked about, and this simple but major concept. The only reason why we're here is to experience. We owe no one anything. You don't, you know, I say it with integrity, you know, like if you made commitments, be integrous, but we are here simply to experience, and that's it. And so if we said, well, I want $1 million, I'm going to, $1 million is going to happen. What fun was that? As opposed to, you know, all of the series of
things that need to line up to get you to that point.
Yeah. And the $1 million is not the here all end all. It's in life, it is the richness of the relationships and the experiences you had, good or bad, because we all love a story of contrast.
Oh yeah.
You know, of all the, I remember on a road trip that I took, my last road trip with my camper, the first day the tire shredded in South Carolina, and it was kind of not a happy experience getting someone to come out and take care of it, but we got on the road again. And then on the very last day when my mom met up with us, we were in Canada getting ready to cross over into Michigan, and another one of my tires blew, shredded. And I was like, I can't believe this happened
RV
twice.
life.
Yeah, on a trip.
Yeah.
But it was on a Sunday. And so we know what it's like in the United States on a Sunday, trying to get someone out to help you. I had this female tow truck driver pull up, and she's Canadian, and she's just like, well, what do we have here, ma'am? You know, and she's just like going into, I can't do a Canadian accent, sorry. But she was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And she's just talking, well, I was just down the road and I heard this and I decided I'd come up and help you. And next thing I know, another person pulls up and he goes, you know, I heard the emergency thing on the, I'm saying it like a Southern accent, I don't know why, but I heard it on the, you know, I was at a picnic with my family, but I just thought I'd come out here and see if there's anything I could do to help. And I'm sitting there going, this could have been the shittiest experience.
Yeah.
And so it's all about, that's the richness, the tapestry of life. It's not about having that money. And so when you only have paycheck to paycheck, you can sit there and, you know, bemoan that fact and everything, or you can understand the play. Like, this is your Monopoly game. This is your money. And how are you going to play it out this week?
Yeah.
So you can take it as woe is me, or you can take it as what's going on here. And that's the Bashar aspect of things. Like, law of attraction became very clear to me once I listened to Bashar. Then it de-riddled it for me. I don't know the word to use. And all of a sudden I understood the operation of all of it and why it was there and how it could benefit you. It's a tool to assist you in your experiences, not to have the flashy car, not to have, you know, those people, they came into this life, there's a goal, there's, you know, a purpose, whatever, and that's fine.
Right.
It's interesting as we're going through this conversation, there's something that keeps popping up in my head, and I don't know why, but apparently it must be, there's a reason for it. And I'm going to give that to you because you're the
You gotta
psychology major.
read his mind.
You might
Right.
want to say it first.
No, I know. It's the
Excuse me.
whole, and I don't, forgive me if it's the wrong person, but the hierarchy of needs, right? Jung's
Maslow.
Oh.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This seems like from that aspect, it plays well into this aspect of law of attraction, manifesting, and that in a way, I don't know, it keeps formulating in my head. And
Okay, articulate what the hierarchy of needs is again.
And I
know I
think
studied this,
pronounced
I
his name
can't.
wrong. Maslow's hierarchy of
Maslow.
needs, where
V.
LOW, I believe.
Oh, it's.
I think it's
W.
Maslow. I think I pronounced it
Okay.
wrong at first, but it's this triangle
Mm.
where at the bottom are food and shelter and that sort of thing.
That's kind of important.
And all the way up to the top, which is enlightenment or something
yeah,
like that.
self-awareness or
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So the bottom line for in counseling or psychology is that you can't even begin to try to become enlightened or self-aware if your basic needs aren't met. So there are needs and then other needs on top of that and other needs on top of that.
I would say it's a very three-dimensional aspect.
Sure. Yeah,
Sure it
yeah.
is, but it's for those that have that are just starting out, you know, seeing that and understanding you need to fulfill certain needs. And when you
Mhm.
understand filling those certain needs, they're actually tied to what you've put in place for your life, what you've quote unquote contracted for your life.
Mhm.
And as you fulfill that layer, as you fulfill that understanding of that layer of the pyramid, well, then naturally you're just going to flow up to the next and the next and the next. And so we're all ultimately trying to get up to awareness or self-awareness.
Mhm.
But there's certain things that have to take place. And well, that's based on your contract. And that's based on how you are, just like you said, how you, it's not the tool, it's not the money that you have in your pocket. It's what it provides to you, what it
Mhm.
provides for you, and how it gets you from one place to the next. And so that's, I think, why it's kind of filtering in that way, is from a you know, from an academic standpoint, or for those that have that kind of that brain side of things, they can maybe see it playing in parallel with their
Right.
with
So I
their
want to say a couple
travel.
of things. And this is what I was alluding to at the beginning. We
Oh,
channeled
she's finally giving it. We're bringing it
We're
around
there.
now.
bringing it around. Bringing it around.
Do not say circle around, circle
Oh,
back.
circle back.
Circle
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Please don't say
I know lots of people say it just like makes me cringe.
Anyway, we talked to Metatron at length a couple of weeks ago, and I think the question was, tell us about like law of attraction. There were a couple of laws we wanted help with.
Huh.
He said it wasn't really a law. It's not a universal law. It's the way that we work in terms of our contract, where our vibration is emitting out all around us and matching with those things that
Yeah.
we need in our experience.
Mm.
So it's matching with the vibration of whatever's out there in our
Mhm.
experience. So if you are down here wishing for $1 million, obviously there are other things that you need. So, because you don't really get it,
yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's matching with those things, those lessons, like
Mhm.
you said, you got it here, but you didn't really get it here in the heart.
Yeah.
So it matched with you. It didn't give you the $1 million or the money easily. It gave you the lesson that you needed. This law of attraction is not about getting or manifesting just good things or just the pleasant things that we want. It's about receiving what we need in our experience based on where we are. So you
Lessons,
might think
relationships.
you are
That's a
on a
very
higher level,
much simpler way of saying it.
but you're not in the
No.
level
Yeah.
that would allow for that. Now, once you get all
Yeah,
of this
be a
stuff,
vibrational match. Yeah.
right. And so once you raise your vibration, you quit wanting the $1 million and you start to understand how this all works, then the $1 million is probably going to come to you and you're going to be like, whatever, I don't even need,
Not
you don't
even
need it.
probably. No, it may or may
Or,
not.
but I'm saying
'cause,
that
yeah.
the million or the clients or the
Yeah.
whatever it is that you need
Mhm.
to live your highest and best
Whatever
life.
holds that same vibration as $1 million, emotionally, energetically, you know, it may not be physically $1 million, but it's going to hold
Right,
the
right, right.
same vibrational point
Exactly.
for you in your life at
See,
that
look at you, who doesn't even.
Man. dialed
You
in.
got it. So Metatron's point was he wanted us to understand that
Mhm.
it's not about matching with only the good stuff.
Mm.
It's about matching with everything, the lessons,
I love
the people,
that.
the struggles, the goodness, the joy, the sadness, all of it, whatever it is that we need based on our contract, based on where we
Good
are
one,
vibrationally
Metatron.
at that moment.
Fascinating. I don't
Right?
even remember
Yeah,
channeling that.
I like that so much. It's so much more of a more complete explanation
Right.
of it.
Because I think it gets hijacked and off the rails when people think I'm going to
What's in it
manifest
for me?
la la la. And it's
Yeah.
always something good. It's always, I only want to manifest this good thing.
Because we're
Mm.
not going to want to manifest something that's contrasty and ick and whatever. And yet those
That's what
are
comes
our
first.
best stories.
Right. That's what
I
comes
missed
Sure.
the plane
Mhm.
and then I had to rely on the kindness of a stranger. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
And the plane crashed or
Yeah.
something like that. I
yeah,
mean, it's just,
you never,
yeah,
ever,
you never know. And the other thing I want to mention about law of attraction is that we are also manifesting on a collective level
Yes.
by virtue of the fact that we came to
Mhm.
earth to be in this piece of humanity, to be a piece of humanity, and all of the humans collectively, whether it's in your nation, your community, your job, your tribe, you're collectively manifesting also what you need in that group. So for example, I drive down the street and I'm like, oh, please let me have the green light. I'm late for work. Well, the person coming the other direction wants the green light also. I know you've heard the story because this is a common one, right? You both aren't going to get a green light because that doesn't end well.
Yeah.
Right. So we're all collectively operating under these rules of physics also that are by virtue of the fact that we live in a 3D world.
Mhm.
So again,
So in other words, what you're saying is life is complicated.
Well, okay, there is
Yes.
another aspect to it because, you know, there's so much that is about healing.
Mhm.
And so, you know, one of the aspects that I can't remember if it's Bashar or Abraham Hicks who gets into this, but I know Abraham Hicks talks about split energy because a lot of times you think,
oh, good point. Yeah.
and I remember, well, okay, I'm not going to give that example. Have to censor myself here. But there are certain times where, and this is the majority of when I'm working with a client, we come across split energy.
Mhm.
They think they really, really want something, this new job will be so great,
Mhm.
but it's going to cause this to happen. And so, you know, I'll make more money, but then my husband will want that money or, you know, or I'll be expected to step up and do something, or I don't know, like there's,
Right.
so then you
There's
kind of,
an unwanted consequence.
yes. And then there's also the concept of secondary gain,
Mhm.
where somebody really wants something, but they keep throwing this negative stop
Monkey
to it.
wrenches. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're benefiting from being in that contrasting negative
Right.
space.
And I think we talked
Okay.
about this in Health and Healing, one of the episodes about how
Mhm.
we'll have people to come in and they're like, I really want to be healed of this, but do you really?
yeah,
Because,
Mm.
oh, you're getting this side benefit of people giving you a lot of attention or whatever it is that you're
Mhm.
gaining from being sick or having this issue or whatever. You're right. So if you have
It's-
competing beliefs,
Mhm.
the universe is going to listen to your energy, not your verbiage. So you can say all day long, I want this new job or I want to heal or whatever, but your energy is putting off something else. And so it is important to understand and visualize what would it be if I had that and start to understand that and heal any fear.
Yeah, feel that resistance the moment it comes up.
Right. Related to that. Yes.
Which it doesn't. Okay. So this is important to understand because I hear people who teach law of attraction stuff. They say this a lot. Well, you just need to feel into that and heal whatever that is. Then you'll get what you want. And it's like, no.
It isn't about
It's-
getting what you
Is it
want.
that
Yeah.
simple?
Yeah, really. It's just, I just have to keep feeling the resistance and stuff. So it's here to me, the ultimate goal is, okay, the ultimate goal is to get in alignment with your higher self.
Mhm.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
absolutely the most important thing because from there, you know, all good things happen, even if
Yeah.
it's bad.
Right.
It's still for your benefit. You just don't know it until, like
You don't
Diana and
know
I
it.
on the podcast that she does with me, we always do this thing called the flip side,
Mm.
and it's to show people that, you know, crappy stuff happens all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Like even though we're
Yeah.
talking about, oh, feel better, you know, we give examples each week of something that went bad
Yeah.
and how we see the flip side of it and how
Yeah.
it's good. And that's, we just don't recognize what that benefit is until you look back and then you go, aha.
Yeah, it's taking a moment for the reality check of the week or whatever we want, or for that day. Even in that day, start with a day of just going through a reality check of that day of where you actually thought of something that was going to be, you thought it was going to be really bad. It was really going to, and I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because I don't do it. Anyway,
yeah, I love when those messages come in.
I can see Allison give me side eye over here. So, but yeah, it's it's checking in and seeing where in the day that you really directed that energy of where it really didn't turn out necessarily the way it actually did.
And also about not prejudging.
Yeah.
Like as soon as something negative happens, don't prejudge it as negative. It might be.
That's me.
Positive. Right.
Well, I'll own that one 100%.
So I want to go back. I would say the first thing is being in alignment with your higher self.
Yes.
What your higher self is, it's a state of joy, happiness.
For those left brainers, we're summarizing here. Okay. So first thing, if you're taking notes,
if you're taking notes at home,
be in alignment with your higher self.
And it doesn't mean like BSing yourself going, oh, I feel good.
Yeah.
It's genuinely like a lot of times I just tell my clients, get flowers. Don't wait for someone. Don't wait for, your husband to get the hint to get you flowers. Go out and get yourself freaking flowers, because that is one of the things that comes through constantly from my guides. And it's kind of like, no, I don't need you to tell me anymore. Because they say that it's the act of having, it's not just a plant in your space.
Yeah.
It's an honoring of yourself and, and just the energy of it and stuff. So I love that. But anyway, so it's paying attention to what it takes to get into that space and making that your priority. Then the other thing is,
this is number 2 for those taking notes.
So if you have a desire for something and it's just this desire, first that desire, it's there to lead you towards something. It's
Right.
there for a purpose. It's not so that you have the thing in the end. It is simply the carrot stick hanging out, because otherwise we will sit there like couch potatoes and do nothing. So we get this impulse, this energy to go somewhere, do something. But if you learn that, again, it's not the having of the thing, it's the feeling. So you just have to move into that space of, what am I going to go through? Like, I think it's really helpful. Close your eyes and do a visualization and literally bring yourself through, okay, if I had this thing, and you have to be really careful about it, because even doing that, you'll start feeling the split energy come in, like, oh my God, then I'll have to give up this, or I'll have to do that.
Oh,
That's helpful knowledge.
Yes. And so move through all of that and keep focusing on, what is it that if I go and I sit in a Maserati and I feel what that feels like, and I hear the creak of the leather, which I have no interest in a Maserati, but anyway, feel the creak of the leather and, the smell of the new and all this kind of stuff. And what's it going to feel like as I drive down the road? And, you start going, well, I just feel like I would, my chest would be out now. It feels so good and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, then go do that in your VW.
Right.
Crank the windows down, go and what is it? What is going to give you that feeling? Go do that,
Right.
And if anything is standing in your way, any resistance, then that's, like you said, that's come to light for you to heal. You got a problem there, deal with it, release it, move on.
Awesome.
It's that simple.
Yes.
Really.
Only 2 steps. My goodness.
It really just boils down to alignment with your higher self, because
And
when
it
you
takes
align,
consistency.
right, when you align with your higher self, all the things you need are going to come right in.
But people are going to ask, what does that feel like?
To align with your higher self.
Yeah.
That's another episode.
Oh, it feels good.
It does
I know
feel
it does.
It
But the thing about it is, in what, again, another thing that's been rolling around inside that little nugget of mine,
There we go, percolating.
right? Is that, when this all started opening up for me, I understood what that feeling is, getting connected with my higher self, my guides, all that stuff, as everybody says, talk to your guides. I understood what all that is. But now that we're 7-8 years into this, and that's not a very long time. I mean, Samantha, you've been doing this way longer, and
So I should have my shit more together.
right, exactly.
Thank you, Will.
But no, it's this aspect of it becomes natural. And so, there are days I'm like, all right, guys, where you at? I mean, I want to feel that you know,
because you can't live on the mountaintop.
right.
Yep.
And you
it's-
need the mountaintop
but
experience
I
so you
think-
get it and
but
you're
I
on the
think
right track.
so many people want to live that connection point all the time of their higher selves and have that influx of energy and have that knowing and that well, that knowing that you're getting, that how you're living your life right now is that knowing. You're just not recognizing it as some epiphany. It's
Right.
just
It's a
happening.
beautiful, natural
Right.
thing. And like you said, the synchronicities will come in and
Yeah.
it'll just,
Mhm.
it's so much
Yes,
fun to live and you'll
yes.
see the breadcrumbs and
And I've lived through a period of time not this past fall, the fall before. I went through a period of like 3 months where the synchronicities, the joy and the synchronicity came so hard and fast that I remember walking out of my house one day, having 3 things drop right in a row that just was such a mind blower. And this is before I even reached the end of my driveway, and I fell to my knees and I just started crying because it was so overwhelming. And it's like, you can't live in that state.
No.
It's way too
Yeah.
much. Like it's, I can't sit there and go, well, 1 a week is plenty. It's,
Yeah, right.
you need to go into muggle world every once in a
Yeah.
while. You came here to be human and to just release and let it go. And then it'll flow back in and you'll be in the focus and you'll start to feel that feeling, to remind yourself what that feels like, move you back
Yeah.
into that space and
Yep.
then ease off of it again. Because, as fun as it is, like as fun as awakenings are, I mean, they're harsh. They can be harsh, but it's super exciting to go, oh my God, I see the world differently and all
Yeah.
this stuff. You can't stay in that state because it's just non-functional for
Right.
this
Sure.
experience.
Yeah.
But you can get yourself into more of a happier place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
a constant steady state
Yeah.
without the pendulum swings,
Yeah.
good or bad.
So what I heard out of all that is it's okay to eat my bag of gummy bears then.
Is that what you
Yeah.
heard? Wow.
And that
To be
brings
human, to
you
be human, right,
happiness,
right.
but you're
You
gonna have
gotta
a
be in your-
human experience after that of being on the toilet.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Well, with that,
Everything in moderation,
for
Right.
sure.
even
Wow.
$1 million requests.
That's right.
Well, I'm glad we
Moderation.
dove into this because, for one thing,
We didn't know
you
what we were gonna
think-
do.
You didn't think you knew.
I honestly thought I was just going to sit here and just be listening the whole time, but my brain like literally exploded. in
We
my head.
do this all the time though, where we
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Like one of us is more proficient supposedly in a
yes.
topic.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. I'm so grateful with these conversations.
And everybody contributes.
Yeah.
Right.
Cause
Mhm.
there really is like, we know a lot more. And we're also, as we're sitting here talking, I think there's a lot of
I'm-
times we're downloading a lot of
Oh,
information.
absolutely. And we're
it's just
learning
going-
and yeah, absolutely.
So thank
Y'all
you for
Conscious channel.
being an audience to listen to us while we go through these
That's
realizations.
right.
Because a lot of it we're working out ourselves,
That's
Mhm.
right.
really.
Yeah, like you catching yourself.
Right.
Like, it's the worst is when you're in a reading and all of a sudden what you're saying to the client, you're going, oh, this is meant for me too.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh
Oh my
always.
gosh, yes.
So-
It's like you really just come to us so that you're the cooperative component to
My
make us pay
exactly.
attention to what the
Ex-
message is.
Exactly.
So
Oh my
thank you.
goodness. And I'm glad we hit this topic because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about
Yeah.
it. And
Oh, I like how you dropped the mic on the end of that because
Yeah.
I had been not
Wow.
looking like I understand that that's the purpose, but that was really succinct.
well, I'm surprised I was able to say it that nicely because you can never equate. You can't say it the same way that the
Allison,
beings,
but
the
you
beings say it.
you
Yeah.
always do. You're our encyclopedia. You
Right.
you get all the
Encyclopedia
information.
Brown.
Yeah. Oh my
Did you read those books? Do you remember those books? They were like my favorite. And I didn't know I was going to marry a Brown.
Well, there you go. See?
Yeah, so we're gonna call you
That's
Encyclopedia
so
Brown.
interesting. I
And for
love
short,
that.
we'll just call her Psych.
That's right.
Those are great books. If you have kids, grab them. Anyway,
Even if
thanks.
they're still around.
Thank you
Yeah.
to all of you guys for watching. Until next time.
See you
Bye.
guys.